The January transfer window is open officially. It doesn't necessarily mean that any will indeed happen, but maybe we should be safe in the knowledge that it's just here, like a warm blanket at night. But of course, with this being a pre-recorded 8 a.m. show for you, I am at Mikel Arteta's press conference, so I can't do the 8 a.m. show today. But I didn't want to leave you in the lurch without any insights on, of course, what's going on. And who better to discuss transfer with than this man? And this man is Mr. Clive Palmer. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Hello. How are you?
Very
well,
good.
I know how
very
you
good.
are.
How's things?
Yeah,
Do you?
Well, yeah. Obviously, we spoke since you got your new role, which I will, in public, give you congratulations for, and which
Thanks,
means
mate.
as a watcher of press conferences, and I am an avid watcher of press conferences. I've listened to
I'm
your
under pressure.
stupid. Any stupid questions?
I'm going to be
mate,
thinking
and
now. I'm like, what's Clive thinking as I ask this question?
I watch every single one, right? So yeah, we'll see how we go, right? So I'll be watching you, son. Let's be good.
Yeah, that's yeah. Did you watch the one after the game yesterday?
I did. I know exactly what happened. Your questions were good. You snuck two in, right?
I did, yeah. I noticed Art got two in, so I was like, well, if Art's getting two in, I'm gonna
exactly
throw in two
and
as
I'm
well.
thinking, mate, don't upset Kate, mate. Be careful.
Well, yeah, I mean, Arteta nearly went for it.
I know. So yeah, good luck. Well, good luck with all that, Thomas. So
thank you, mate. I appreciate that. No, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and of course, it gives you a little different kind of sphere and some freedom as well to chase some lines. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of lines being chased this month regarding transfers, which is what we're here to discuss. Usually, of course, on these 8 a.m. shows, we go through all the latest news, but with this being pre-recorded, there's a chance for a more open discussion. If you're listening, of course, in the chat box, please make sure you're following Clive on Twitter at Clive PAFC. Are you on Blue Sky as well now? I've got the Blue Sky.
I don't know what I'm called though, but I'm on there.
I'll find it while we're doing the show. But yes, you can find us there. You can find myself, of course. And we are trying to do our 1K like challenge. I know this is a pre-record, so I'm not necessarily counting it. But let's see if we can get this show to 1,000 likes and keep up the streak. It'd be great if we could. But yes, thank you for all of you tuning in and watching right now and leaving your comments, I'm sure, in the chat box. And those listening on catch up too. So transfers, Clive. I mean, let's start with... Should we start with wants or should we start with expectations? Because they're two very different things, I feel. And sometimes we hope the Venn diagram of those two things coalesces. And rarely in January, some might think that it does. So let's start with desires and what we think we need as well and have a more general look at it. So for you, what is Arsenal's January window? To you, what should it look like?
Yeah, so... I always when I look at this stuff, I always think to myself, well, most of us fans, we're all the same, really. We want similar things, right? So depends on what players that we like. We know we're a forward or two light. Some people say we're a forward light anyway. So now we've lost Saka, we need two. In centre forward, and we need Saka cover, or someone saying the left winger. The way I look at it, slightly more conservative because these deals take time, as they take time to put into play. So I look at it very simply, right? We've lost somebody that's basically our most penetrative player, that's got the most devastation and goals and assists output. So we've lost that player. So now we need to make sure we don't lose the whole season. We managed to find some internal solutions. So you've always got to look internally. So we found a little bit of Ito Wanieri. There was a little flurry of Fabio Vieira loan. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Maybe more so not going to happen. And then so you're looking around resources first. And then for me, you go one of two ways. You go towards a release clause player where the negotiation is sharper and easier if you're prepared to pay it. Or you go towards a summer signing they look to bring forward. They've been working on, but you want to bring it forward. And that could cost you some negotiation. Maybe the payment structure will change, things like that. But that's the sort of four ways I look at it, really. So if we just see what we do in January, I personally feel we need to add another forward. My personal opinion is it needs to be a wide forward that we can use, maybe wide and central. But And I'm in a strange way. I know we just lost Saka, but I'm thinking more of a right footer. You
Yeah,
know,
interesting.
when I look at the squad, Tom, we've got a lot of lefties in our squad. Generally, a lot of lefties in our squad. But right is coming in. I think we need a little bit more. You know, and that's where my head is. And I've got a couple of people in my mind, but that's where my head is at the moment. But yeah, let's discuss.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, and I'd be curious what the chat box is typing right now about kind of the profile of wide player that they'd be looking to, because there's been a spectrum of different players that have been talked about and
Yeah.
discussed. For a lot of people, they see Saka's injury and his absence, therefore, as thinking, well, we just go get like for like. You know, you go out and you get a player that is going to offer you basically what as much or as close to Saka as you can while he's not there. So why do you think that's not the avenue to go down?
Because it's only going to disappoint us. I mean, honestly, the first time he doesn't trap it like Saka, we're not going to have it. Do you know what I mean? And that's the truth. The only one that can get away with being like for is Ethan Wanier, because we're going to give him a break because he's 17. Right. So
Mm,
I think yesterday, sorry, the game against Brentford was a very important moment for me because we all suspected he could do it, but he's done it in a way that he's almost defined it for himself, played like
mm,
he would play it, and we're accepting it. You know, there's a big trick of inversion that you can cut against the grain, you can chop inside, you can do things against, you can unbalance people. I like inverted players, and he does a really good job at it, playing it his way. And we use Timber to maybe cradle him a little bit on the outside, push him up to create those combinations in those areas. And it worked fantastically well. Cost Timber maybe a yellow card because he was higher up and engaged, but it worked really,
yeah.
really well. I liked it, and I also like Jesus off the right. I'm not really one for Martinelli off the right, if I'm honest with you, but he can do it, and we're talking 8, 10, we're talking 9 more weeks, maybe, shall we say?
Yeah.
Um, so I would be looking on the other side, if anything, and I know it's crazy, but I just think we need to add one more player for depth because there's just so many games, right? So I'm thinking more. We're not just getting a puppy for Christmas. This is for a
Hmm.
long term, right? This is going to be a 4-year contract you're giving somebody. So what are we going to do? We should think we should keep it long term, add to the group, but make sure we don't jump off our strategy and put ourselves in a situation where, say, Manchester United are right now with ill-fitting players for a play style they want to play.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a comment on what would be this morning's show, yesterday's for those listening on Friday. So getting very jealous at the idea of Man United potentially going in for Gyökeres. And, you know, while Gyökeres is a very interesting forward who scored a lot of goals in Portugal, I thought the idea of getting jealous of Manchester United's transfer policy is something I I never thought any Arsenal fan in the current era would be looking to get anywhere near of any sense of involvement with. Um, so let me ask the magic question of what names are you looking at in those wide areas that are really standing out to you? I guess in a spectrum of both desire but also availability as well.
So, but I'm going to give you three. I'm going
Mm,
to give you three righties from the left, shall we say? And two are maybe more longer term, and one is a release clause, right? So Mateus Cunha, I think he's more of a lefty in a Rashford style. Oh,
mm,
sorry, a left sider from a Rashford style, a forward that can carry but can score. I've always thought in our front three, if you're going to have a facilitating nine, we spent the money. Some people not having Kai Havertz, but we spent the money, right? I
mm,
think he does a good job there, and he scores. He's our top scorer. But if that's our strategy, then the players on the outside of him have got to be scorers. You know, or one of them's got to be a scorer. So I think Cunha looks like a nice scorer. He can carry, but he's not a winger per se. So I like that idea. And I used to like Marcus Rashford, as you know, Tom. And so the closest I see to that style of player is like a Cunha, who I think is more of a carrier. We tend to play low blocks these days. So Marcus Rashford's best skill is transitioning into big spaces, and we don't really have a lot of that. So Cunha is the closest I think to that type of player in my mind. 6 footer, can really quite rangy, but also can finish at a high click, right? So I quite like him. The other player that's in my head is Omar Marmoush.
mm,
Again, a righty, a trickster, Brazilian style for me. really can take it, but wants to hit the target hard. Good on set pieces, but I love how he moves. I love his desire to score. He's not a kid anymore. I just like how he arrives in the box and really wants to hit the back of that ball hard and really finish. And everything in my mind, I'm thinking about your threat to the back line, threat to that last line. Are you carrying a threat? Where do we have to adjust to you? If you're just a good player playing in pockets, we've got loads of pocket players, mate. Absolutely loads. We want people to threaten that last line because our most threatening last line player is not there, right? So, so regardless of what we want, regardless of so teams don't load up on Saka in the future, if you have people threatening that line, it forces people to think about switching the point of the attack. Declan Rice is probably going to be our future in deeper positions, and he likes a cross-field pass, right? So when we switch point of the attack, he must be able to threaten the same on both sides. So that's what I'm thinking there with Marmoush. And back to what I said earlier, Tom, about release clauses. If we were to revisit Nico Williams, it will be a negotiation that we could do. You know, because the release clause is there, it's set at a decent number. His wages are a bit lively, but in the summer, we'd have all taken him, wouldn't we? We'd be watching him and Yamal run around playing for Spain, and that picture and that symmetry with those two was quite stunning, right? And so it's a natural fit
concern
for me,
you kind of his season, this because he's obviously not had the best of campaigns.
He's not had the best of season. I know the number. He scored 1 goal this year, something like that.
Something like that,
One goal,
2 assists, something like that. Yeah.
So I know. Where's he been? He's been in a nightclub or something. Where's he been? I mean,
I don't know.
Is he still celebrating? I mean, it shows you how a star can fall. I'm not sure what the situation is. Maybe you're thinking maybe I should have moved. He was sort of set on Barcelona, wasn't he? And it didn't really happen.
Yeah.
I don't know the story behind it, Tom, but
I thought, you look at the Dani Olmo situation, you can see Barca couldn't really do any business.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Good point. But I actually wanted him to go to Barcelona. Generally, I thought, if you got a chance to go there because you've got your mate there, and you could play there for the next 7 years and be Barcelona's identity going forward. So, from a personal point of view, I sort of wanted him to go there. But if that move can't happen, it's not going to happen, then the other place I'd like him to go to come to Arsenal, because stylistically we're quite similar to the Spanish team. The way we attack from the 8th position on left-hand side, we have a deep line 6. We have an inverted right winger that can do a bit, travel is very tricky. We have a 10 we have an 8-10 in Odegaard. It's very similar, and a facilitating 9. We have defenders that can play. It just sort of it fits. And sometimes the things that are most obvious to you, the ones you should go for, don't overcomplicate in your mind. If it doesn't fit quickly, then it's not the one. So but with him, I don't know the form. I haven't seen him this year. I don't know the numbers, like everyone can read them right now, but I just don't know the form with my own eyes. That's the only thing that's missing there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've kind of broken down a little bit there of Williams. The other two, Marmoush, the kind of the thing that kind of puts a bit of a buffer for me with Marmoush is watching what Randall Kolo Muani has done since that move from Frankfurt, because it's a very similar situation in the sense of, he's built up a very good record after this season, but also part of last season as well, Marmoush in Frankfurt. And then you could potentially earn that big move to an elite level club like Muani has, and it's not necessarily what. So I have that fear almost, as I guess you have with any kind of transfer, really, that it's not going to work out. Cunha is the only one of those three, of course, with that Premier League immediate kind of guarantee, if you will. But even with Cunha, I look at him and I think, profile-wise, where would he kind of naturally fit in Arteta's system? Because I get a lot of Havertz vibes in terms of kind of positioning, like a second striker type from him who plays off of somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's what I get from Cunha. So, but what I do see that he gives us is he can give you goals, and if we need more goals in the forward line.
Yeah, it's a strange one, right, Tom? Because we've all become like mini coaches, mini psychologists, and we've become like mini directors of football as well, right? So, and when it comes to getting these players, I have the same hesitation as you have. Like, I wonder if he's going to make it. I'm going to make. Sometimes you just got to say, look at the fit and sort of go for it. I think with Cunha, I see him as a lefty, but with a fullback that's quite close to him, if you see what I mean, on the outside. So he's in that sort of lane 4, lane 3 area, and he's coming in. And I think there's room to do work behind our centre forward. And if you were to change the balance of our eights, for example, you could see a striker like Gooner would work very nicely next to a Havertz, somebody that attacks the box. We use our left 8 to do that right now. So we ask him to do 2 jobs. We ask a Marino or Rice to try to drive in from those centre areas and hit the box late, whereas Cunha can make his own shot and make his own chance on that side. I just like what he does. I quite like him as a player. I think he's interesting. I'm not going to stay awake at night if we don't get him. But I just look at the profiles of players that we could have on the left-hand side to evolve the team. Because I think it's very important to evolve the team in those areas. It's not a criticism of Martinelli. We're talking the day after probably his best performance of the season, for me at Brentford. And but I just think we need to go another level. There's more to do there. There's more room there. So we need to go for it. We need to show ambition. We have a set of players in our club that are just don't happen very often. It's not very often in my lifetime. The best centre-back pairing, I'm looking at them right now. The other one was Sol Campbell and Kolo Toure, right? And so this doesn't happen very often to have those two centre-backs. So we have to respect their careers. Bang, give them forwards. We're developing fullbacks. We've got 3 really good ones, maybe 4 really good ones developing. Got to give them things. Declan Rice spent 100 million quid. Let's not pretend we can't have people up front that are not going to facilitate his career. Do you see what I mean? I think it's fair, and let's not talk about Bukayo Saka, right? Who's generational, full stop. There's a statue waiting for him outside the ground. If he wins some Premier Leagues, it's done, right? Start doing it now. But we need to win those trophies to make these careers work, right? So, so this is the time to show ambition. I can hear some people typing in the words Isaac, which is probably the only one that we're all satisfied with. Let's be honest. That's the only one that we none of us.
Have you ever tried having a conversation about Isaac with anyone of Newcastle affiliation? It has to be one of the most like I'm trying to find the right word. Anytime I have I was talking to Andrew Musgrove, who writes for the Chronicle. And it's the same whether it's a journalist or a fan. I find whoever covers Newcastle, there's such a resistance to like this idea that he could go, or that end like Bruno Guimaraes or anybody of Anthony Gordon being the other one. Anytime you speak to anybody associated with Newcastle about any of their stars leaving, even more I feel than Arsenal back in the day with Yanazris and Fabregases. There's such a firm wall of no, categorically not happening. It's an interesting social.
But there was a game the other day, wasn't it? You would got a better memory than me, but there's Newcastle home game where they had a banner up for Isaac, didn't they? At the end, it was just like
the entire wall of one of the stands was like the Swedish flag, wasn't it? Yeah.
So to do that for one player based off of what? Just the odd rumor?
Yeah.
That shows you the fear around this, isn't it? That shows you the fear that his potential, his ambition to go into a Champions League and have a good shot is what could drive him out. But Newcastle are playing well. I think they're sitting 5th at the moment right now, and 5th will do it this year. So who knows what can happen in the future, right?
Is 5th a Champions League spot this year?
We'd be the country that gets it.
Right.
Because I think last year it went to Italy, is that right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So depending on how the coefficients work, we get
at the moment we're right up there at the moment. Right up there.
Because of how highly Villa, Liverpool, and Arsenal have done in the league phase,
exactly.
So, and Chelsea in the Euro Conference League as well are going to go very far there. So you'd think 5th is Champions League as well. Yeah, it's a good point. It's an interesting race for those Champions League places. It isn't just the forward line, that's being talked about. Because we've suffered with so many injuries this season, particularly in the defensive line, and suspensions as well, which are also going to incur against Brighton, which you've mentioned already, Timber being out. Ben White's injury, I think, is something that's simply just not talked about enough this season. Like his absence this season, it's been such a consistent, pivotal figure in the team where we've competed for the last 2 seasons. That absence, for as long as it's been for us, it has been massive. And then, of course, you've not then got Tomiyasu, another player, of course, available to cover multiple positions. Calafiori himself has had injury issues and not necessarily been able to settle like a new signing you would hope that they would and transition to a new environment and a new league. Thankfully, we've had a star in Miles Lewis-Skelly, emerge and really impress in his performances. But it almost feels like we're there's so much weight on the shoulders of Gabriel and Saliba for every single game almost. Zinchenko's fitness and performances you can't necessarily rely on. Kivior is, has got a mistake in him when he plays, but I don't want to down on him too much. Like I quite like Kivior. But what do you think about the back line and how important it is, if at all, for Arsenal to do any business there this window?
It's hard to see injury as opportunity, but if Ben White was fit, we probably would not have seen hardly any of Miles Lewis-Skelly, for example.
Timber would be left back.
Timber would be left back, and they would have swapped it around, and it'd have been Calafiori would have jumped in every now and again, and so we would have seen him. So through this opportunity, through this injury, we've seen opportunities. Was going to help in squad building going forward. It may end, say, Zinchenko's career at Arsenal, and Kivior's career may disappear, and you can see the future. You could probably see another right-footed fullback coming. Or you can see that happening, can't you? Just due to the injuries in those areas, you can just see it. You can just see that coming. Maybe centre back, fullback. So we'll see. So, but I think it's hard to see as opportunities with injury because I think we've been really unlucky. Really unlucky. I think the strength of schedule has really been unforeseen. I mean, even the Champions League groups. Look at the teams in our group; they're all in the top end that we played so far. Inter Milan, Atlanta, Monaco are up there for a while. So we played them at really good times and they're in good form. There's been no chance of rotating. It's cost us, right? It really has cost. No one cares about us though, Tom. No one cares about these feelings that we have. They just don't care. It says, you haven't got no injuries. You have injuries last year. Well, we know what we had. We miss you in Timber, and I think just even having for 20 games would have transformed our season. Based on the level that he's at right now. That's really bad luck to lose your £40 million signing in the first half of his first competitive game. I mean, that is really tough luck, right? So it just feels like that this season. But I don't know. I don't know about you, mate, but against Brentford, I saw some things in that team which I didn't see coming. I just didn't see the spirit. I was concerned. I was concerned, and they showed me things that I didn't think were there. And the way they went about that job with the hunger, desire to turn it around and really do the ugly side of the job, the ugly side of the game, and really lean into it, particularly on the counter press side of things. I thought it was really, really good. That gives me a lot of encouragement because there's enough excuses there to really have a sulk and not deliver. Not deliver. And they are not having it. They are going for it. And as supporters, that's all you want, isn't it? See a team with that level of desire.
No, absolutely. I think it's a performance that won't be appreciated by as many as it should do, to be honest. Considering the factors of illness as well that was affecting the squad. And without some key players, as we know, Havertz not in there, of course, and having lost Saka is just an unimaginable kind of impact on the team. But I was very impressed with how they dealt with that. I was impressed with kind of I quite liked how aggressive they were in shot taking and cross taking as well, which led to a lot of the goals that we scored. None of the goals we had came from a direct assist. The first goal comes from a Partey shot that's saved. The second goal comes from a knockdown in a corner that Gabriel strikes and is deflected towards Moreno. And the third goal comes from a Waneri cross that drops at the feet of Martinelli after a poor clearance. So it's that constant peppering and pressure of the opposition box that led to our chances. And then when they came, we took them. And for Arteta, that almost feels like the game plan. You want to suffocate the opposition, dominate the ball, give them very little, and they only had 2 shots on target all game, Brentford. 5, I think, in total in terms of shots. But they're a hard team to stop having shots because they're so good on the transition. The little flicks behind they do in games are really good. So I was very impressed.
Yeah, I just said this on the vision, so I've probably just repeated myself, but I just have to because I think the way we overcame them was with putting people closer together. So we're going to have dominance. So make sure that we have our forwards in close proximity, because then you can create counter pressing opportunities. Right. So long as you're quick combination, that's who we are. So when we have Saka, what do? We spread the pitch a lot more, and we try to isolate him and then let him travel, try to stretch the lines and travel and make underlap third man runs and go from there, cutbacks, side foot goal. Right. So that's the sort of things we do. We want those isolations. We want to keep the pitch wide. But I thought Tim did a lot of that in this game, and then we sort of used proximity of our forward group to create combinations inside. But for me, the reaction to when we lost the ball was lightning sharp. Lightning sharp. We got it back, took our shots, ugly shots, Tom. Not imbalanced, not perfect shots. Just take it. Just take the shot. See what happens. Make them think they're going to be threatened. Because if they're going to be threatened, you know what they do? They jump out. They jump out and things can happen and leave spaces for you to walk into. That's what Jesus did. That's what Mourinho did. And we just did it well. And it's just like, I watch other teams play, particularly our opponents. They take shots. They don't really care. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They just take it. And sometimes you get a deflection. It just lands. 2 deflections lands at your feet and you just siphon it in. Yeah. You've got to threaten. You've got to threaten them with this. And it's not perfect. Arsene Wenger, even Mikel Arteta football, where you just it's a painting base. It's not a goal. It's a painting.
Yeah.
It's not all of that. It's just what we should be doing. When you're in the box on your right foot, take it. As simple as that. Just take it. Don't wait. And that's going to create situations. And Bremo on the goal, he took an early shot. Calafiori was 1 yard off. If you're 1 yard off, you know what happens? Goes through legs or get a deflection, goes in. If you're half a yard tighter, you get a block. By taking early shot, he couldn't close the distance. He didn't get his feet quickly enough. That's how you get your margins, right? That is how you get your margins go for you. So I'm pleased to see how we're approaching it when you lose your superstar.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Just the last thing on kind of the picture at the moment, if you will. If Arsenal win against Brighton, we'll be 2 points better off after 20 games in the league compared to the previous season. And I was looking at where we sat after 20 games last year, and we were 4th after 20 games, believe it or not, last season after 20 games. We were 5 points behind Liverpool, having played the same number of games at that point. Of course, that gap could be 9 this time. Still, Man City were ahead of us on goal difference, but had a game in hand, and Aston Villa are actually 2 points ahead of us in second at that point. Despite us being 2 points potentially if we beat Brighton, which is not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. So it's naive to assume that we'll win the game, but assuming that we do, it does feel that the feeling wider is still more down than it was at the same point last year. Would that be a fair assumption? I kind of want your thoughts on it.
Yeah. There's a risk to this. So I work in risk. I can see the risk factors that are ahead, right? So we've gone to Brentford and we scored 3, and went to Palace. We scored, was it 5?
Yeah,
and Saka came off in that game, but he was involved in the early chances. So, and we know we've lost him. We know that he gets us out of danger a lot, and he delivers and he affects the other team's game plan, etc. So we're worried. As soon as we have a nil, Tom, this is what's going to happen. We should have bought a striker. Is Arteta ever going to get us over the line? And I worry about this kickback, because only wins will do. I mean, Brentford have got the second or first best home record?
Yeah, probably the first best. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, maybe the same as Liverpool. They both only lost 1 at home this season.
Yeah, but they barely had a shot in the second half. We just completely just destroyed them, and we just expect it. Forest, we beat them. They've got great form. We beat them quite handily, but people just expect it. And it's good. Yeah, Villa. Well, that was a tough one though. But
you rode on like a little bit with that one.
But people just expect it because it's all about the outcome, right? If we don't get the outcome that we all want, we all want the same things. Just how aggressive you are about it, the journey, and but I don't think there's no difference between any of us. We all want the same things. We all want to win that big thing. But it's only going to happen when it's right. And I fear for the kickback to Arteta on that regard of thing, because he'll get blamed for it.
Of course.
I also feel there's another thing that's out there, it's just in my mind right now, is that people get bored quite quickly, Tom. They get bored of the same things happening. And I worry that when Arteta came in, I don't think he got enough credit for what he's done to the club, in his first job, to completely, with other people, transform the club, end-to-end connectivity, the project, the alignment, to pay people off and then suffer while you're paying them off, take the couple of eights and then come back, have disappointments 2-3 years in a row, but still maintain the growth of the squad value, etc. And now we have expectation that we have to win every single game. Well, I've never seen us win 16 games out of 18. I'm a lot older than you, mate. Do you know what I mean? So, and so this stuff is not normal, but it's not enough for many, 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 many people, right? So, and so that's my worry, where we are expectation-wise versus what's possible to do for us as a club, with the resources that we have. I can hear people saying, but Clive, we've got loads of money. I read somewhere that we're not close to PSR. Well, how close are we? We don't know. Regulation is a key part of football now. And some of it is opaque to us. A lot of it is. If you can tell me how much money we've got to spend, I don't know. And you can tell me how much we're allowed to spend. I don't know. Yeah, our expectations are sky high. And that worries me, the gap to what's the art of the possible versus the actual what we're allowed to do. So that's my worry, mate. So we need more of these Brentford games where everyone steps up and does more.
I still don't think people thought it was that great. Do you know what? Do you know what? I came away from the game. I saw the discourse at half time at 1-1, which, by the way, we went a goal down to a poor piece of defending on one transition. We gave the ball away. Odegaard probably had one of his poorer games of the season.
He should have fouled Odegaard, by the way. He should have fouled in the centre circle. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and on the Odegaard thing, again, we've got the points now, mate. So there's a comp out there of Odegaard, just a simple 2-minute, like he always does. But if you watch that comp, you think he was man of the match.
Yeah, I know.
And I think, and it shows you that within the construct of the tension of the game, where we really want him to step up, given the fact that the guy next to him's no longer there, we're already changed our expectations on him. When we calm down and relax and look at what he did or what he tried to do and the risk taking that he did, the flicks that he tried around the box, when we get a time to breathe, just have a look at it again and go, you know what? Yeah, he was a bit off, but he still was an 8.
For me, it's like I think from the criticism comes from a lot of places that are always down on him. For me, it's a case of my standards for him are so high, I expected so much that in the context of what I know Odegaard to be, it was one of the less impactful performances from him. But yeah, like as I said, the discourse at half time, there was a lot of criticism of Marino. There was a criticism of the team. I'm thinking like we've had a sucker punch of a goal hit us. And that's why I asked Arteta after the game, and I said to him, like, this season we've gone behind 6 times, and only twice we have managed to turn the scoreline around. Yeah. And I want to know if he noticed something different, because I certainly noticed something different in how the team responded to going a goal down. And obviously the timing of the goals in the second half was very important. But again, I thought performance was very good overall. I was saying to Charles Watts at half time, and we're both sitting there saying, like, we're playing well. Like, we're playing well here. Yeah. And it looks like if there's only one team that's going to win, it's going to be Arsenal at this point. And we obviously went on to do that. And now we go into this Brighton game, days after the club's gone through this sickness bug situation, and like players like Rice weren't fully ready to play. We don't know if Havertz is going to be back yet, and obviously we're still dealing with the Saka situation. But win that game, and and if you look at the fixtures, obviously that we've had already, the amount of teams we've played away from home in the top half of the table, the teams that we've still got to go to that are in the bottom half, and the opportunities that we've got at the Emirates that needs to become a real fortress in the second half of the campaign for us to win the league. And there's a hypocrisy, I think, in the mood and the expectation. There's all of this kind of discourse of disappointment and frustration and angst. But at the same time, while that exists, we're wanting Arsenal to pull it out the bag and to perform almost above our station and almost perform beyond what people are expecting us to. And when they don't, they get slammed. And it's just an hypocrisy that exists for me.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because back to where I started. We all want the same things. We remember that we're all supporters and fans, and we all want the same things. And it's hard, right? It's hard when you see things happen against your team. You know, I'll tell you now, Tom, I am still not over Declan Rice being sent off against Brighton. Just sitting there in the sunshine, never seen anything like it. You know, how can you send Trossard a minute before half time in the game of the season? Yeah, I was just like, just what we're doing here. When did that become normal? When did that become normal to just reduce one team for such minor infractions? You know, and I'm still not over it. And if you can get yourself into a place where that's just not, it's not fair. It's not fair. But people are just laughing at us, right? So we need to do what we do. We need to do what we do, how we do it, and be proud of it. Right? If that means we're smashing in goals off corners, then let's deal with that one. Deal with that, because we're doing that now. You know, and so if that's what we have to do to overcome these teams, to get the amount of wins that we need in a row to get to the promised land, that's what we need to do. If we don't make it, I'll tell you what, we are very much set up as a very good Champions League team. With the tools that we have. You know, you think about it now, we are real set up. You know, I've watched Sergio Ramos score a few Champions League final goals off a corner. No one batted an eyelid, right? So when it's set 1-0, they're going around Madrid with a trophy for 15th times, whatever it is. No one cares how it happened. Yeah. But we're set up. We're set up. We can keep people where they want to be. We can keep people. We can dominate areas, and we can score different types of goals. You know, and so we just have to. What we have to do, if we have to do this, by the way, if we don't sustain our own confidence in our own team, then what are we expecting them to do? You know, we have to be confident. I've got the same fears. Mate, I wish Saka could suddenly graft a hamstring from somewhere. Can't they just do some new science?
Yes, I will donate my hamstring. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I don't think he'd want mine, to be fair. It's rather unfit.
But they want mine.
Yeah,
sure. It's weak, and so, but we have to overcome it. We have to overcome it. I'm through this. Honestly, I'm discovering things in the group I wasn't sure that were there. That's the truth. I didn't think it was there. So, you know, if I've done a few laps of the building, Tom, if I can get surprised, then we got to accept it, right, and keep believing. So, yeah.
I'm really excited for the Newcastle double-legged game more than I thought I would be, because I think it's a really interesting case study for the Champions League double-legged team, because I think we've got a really good cup approach in the way we play. And across 2 legs, I genuinely think we shouldn't really be losing to anybody. Because of how we are as a side. I know that there are going to be obviously sides that, you know, are going to offer, you know, a lot of threat. But the way in which we approach games, if the Arsenal have a lead in a leg, it shouldn't be being lost, really, with the way in which we dominate and shut teams out and are so good at defending. I feel like you want to lower expectations, though.
Yeah.
So go on.
Well, I worry about the volume of games. I just do.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's just ridiculous. You know, I joked earlier on that I'm trying to do dry January, right? Trust me, we've got about 20. Well, I ain't started yet because I'm not back to work yet. So it starts at the weekend. However, Tom, we got about 24 home games in January.
Yes,
and there's not very many times I go to Arsenal without having at least one drink. And so it's ridiculous what amount of home games we've got coming up. You know, and so I agree with you earlier, your statement about the Emirates being a fortress. It just feels like a strange schedule this year. Really strange. Yeah, I worry about the proximity of games and the amount of games that we have and the closest together and the impact on injury. And we won't accept when a player has a bad moment. I worry about that. But on the plus side, when we play Newcastle, they're looking for one goal against us, particularly when we go their way. And when they get that, they're very good at mid-blocking, low-blocking us and doing really, really well. And them and Everton are the 2 best at it for me. Right? So, but if we can go with a 1-goal lead, they're going to have to play. If it's just 1 goal, just give me 1
I think it's
0.
good we're at home first, weirdly.
Yeah, I agree with you. If it's a 1-goal lead, they're going to have to play. If it's 2-0, oh my God, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. They're really in trouble. Because then all we have to do is take the game in stages, and then and then quiet the crowd. If it's 0-0, they're still going to have to attack. The expectation of them is to attack. So it's not like a league game that we've had before.
Yeah.
You know, where they've scored quite early and done quite well. This is going to be a different contest. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those games. But I just worry about the intensity of games that we have. And why didn't we get a Tamworth in the FA Cup? Just to lower the intensity. Do you see what I mean?
Mate, let's not lower the Tamworth. They're going to do a job. They're going to do a job,
mate. I've said before, I've got a friend who plays for Tamworth, right? So I'm looking forward to watching them. So yeah, it's but you don't get to lower the intensity at any point. So what do we have? Man United, 8,000 fans. Thank you very much. Into the Emirates, and it's all on. You know, so and Amrin looking for a win to give him a leg up with the Man United fans, you know. So we just don't get that lower of intensity, which is back to where we started, which is why we need another attacker just to take the strain away from the current group.
Yeah. Really well summed up, and I've enjoyed the discussion today. Obviously, it's covered a lot of ground on transfers, the game against Brentford, and of course, look ahead to what's to come. And Clive, I know that you've got, with loads of games, it means you've got loads of podcasts to record as well.
I like a chat. It's okay.
I know. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you, mate, as it always is. I'll let you go. Tell people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
I'm doing a few bits and pieces, and we've done a bit on TalkSport together, haven't we, on that show. I'm doing that next week, and also on the Vision, and a few other things coming. But I'll keep them under my app for now, Tom. Until I appear.
Love it.
Until I appear.
Thank you to everybody that's tuned in and listened today. I really appreciate you all having been here. I hope you appreciate that we put out a show for you, despite me not being present for the usual 8 a.m. Madness. As Clive mentioned, he'll be watching eagle-eyed as we face Mikel Arteta at not London Colne anymore, Sherba Realty Training Centre on Friday morning. And then, of course, back on Saturday in the usual fashion ahead of the game against Brighton. Are you heading down to the South Coast for that one, Clive?
No, I do like 1 or 2 away games, really, and a couple of maybe 1 or 2 European games a year. So I'm still recovering from. I'm still recovering from Lisbon. Lisbon was fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
So I caught maybe the best performance of the season. So
maybe
there's no reason why I couldn't get a Brighton, apart from the fact I've not got a ticket. So that's the way it goes. Yeah,
No, I'll be driving down on Saturday. It's as I said on the show this morning, it's one of the nicer journeys for an away game is Brighton. So looking forward to it. Not so much in terms of how easy it might be, because it is going to be a very challenging game, especially without Yuri and Timber, the team. But more about that tomorrow. Thank you everybody for listening. Do drop a like on the video, of course. We're trying to hit 1,000 every day if we can, but we'll see if our pre-record can manage to hit those heights. We'll see. Thank you for listening. I'll be back with you tomorrow, as I mentioned. And as always, up the Arsenal.